So this is going to talk, we just finished our spherical piece here, and I talked about what you're going to do in the assignments. So I'm going to tilt this just a little bit more for us so you can get at what I'm going to be doing here. And that's where, I want you to set up a still life. I want you to just use basic objects, things that have contrasting textures. So I have something that's natural versus something that's steel versus something that's transparent. And I want you to go about creating a still life after you, the same way that we just created that sphere. Now, the principles and stuff are the same. You're going to tone your piece of paper. You're going to focus on your contour lines. And then from your contour lines, you are going to pull out your light source. And then you're going to do the darks. You can do those really in any order. I sometimes actually like to do the dark stuff first. And then from there, move on into all the midtones and such. So I'm going to show you really quickly how we can achieve that. So I'm going to move this back so we have a lemon, a steel gear, stuff like that. So when I'm drawing these sort of things, and I'm going to leave that sphere there just so we can kind of see, is that I'm compositionally want to make sure that I want to orientate my paper either portrait, which is vertical. I can do my portrait this way, or I can do it this way, right, which is the landscape orientation. And on the landscape, what I want you to do is to first off, start with your largest object, right, and which for me is the glass vase. I'm gonna go ahead and make sort of an axis like it has a spine. And from there, it'll help me sort of map out how I want this thing to be built. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of using that boxed in line to help me get at the form that I really want to achieve, so that way this thing looks symmetrical. Now from there, I want to go ahead and add in that oval shape for the lemon, and then of course the gear itself, which is a cylinder. Okay, so those are your basic contour lines, okay? Don't do more than that. That way you can see if you actually like it. If you don't like it, then just come back in. Don't erase, just rub it out, right, and start again. That's the advantage of this, okay? But let's say I like it. All right, those are my contour lines. I'm not worried about details yet because the details come from the values. Now, when you have this lit in your house and you have just one light source, you'll be able to see where your highlights may be, where your cast shadows could be, all of those sort of things. The model that you're looking here, we really only see the cast shadows and stuff being at the bottom, but we get a sense of light going up there. So this is where now I can come back in. And I usually tell my students is, think like a bulldozer, right? We got to move a lot of material. There's no sense in worrying about details or anything yet. Just move that material. So I see a light source there. I see this side has a lot of light in it. Okay. And I'm not really worried about making a mess or anything right now. I just want to move a lot of material as quick as possible. And over here, I begin to see this. Now, if you've already done all your assignments and you've shaded that sphere, the cone, the box, and the cylinder, that's sort of the next step, is we have to look at these and say, okay, well, I have my highlight here. Where's my core shadows? Where's my cast shadows, right? And so now I can come back in and start adding in the cast shadow. I see a little bit of cast shadow underneath here. Okay, once again, just something rough. I like to smooth everything in after I've put it on there, just so it's not a bunch of free-floating pigment on the surface. Okay, and then over here, we don't see a whole lot. That's where the base will be. And now from there, I can come back in. Do not use your compressed charcoal until you're absolutely ready that everything is set. So right now, this stuff isn't set, so I'm not gonna use this. I just continually work with the vine charcoal. This is roughly where that core shadow would be. I'm gonna put that in. Here's another one over here. And if you can't identify these clearly, then just play with your lighting a little bit more, okay? Something like this glass that has these nice fluted channels in there. Don't draw them the whole way up, because they don't. Look at sort of the shape that they create. Okay, sometimes you get just a little bit of an area, sometimes you get a lot. Okay, I've done that. Now I can go back in and clean it up once again. And every time I go back over this, I'm just gonna be a little bit more discreet. I'm gonna be a little bit more careful. The first time I was a bulldozer, so this time think of yourself maybe a little bit like a shovel or something. Just a little bit more precision. Okay, and you can see I'm just lightly putting in some of those lines to now start to make what looks like that fluted glass. It doesn't need to be perfect yet. You have to work this stuff up in layers, okay? But each time I'm looking for areas that look more and more incomplete. All right, I can start to soften up the edges. I can change anything I want. If I feel like this needs to come out just a little bit more, I can do that. You know, continue to edit. Here I notice it's like, well, we have this circle happening in here, right? So that's where now I start to make the form a little bit better. Make the subject a little bit darker. Clean up some of the lines that I haven't done yet. But you should feel like you're working fairly quickly. Like if you're in tune with this thing, you're just working very, very quickly. And each layer that I add on it, like I said, just gets more and more details. So after this, after I did some erasing, I may now come back in and look at some of the other shapes that I'm missing. Okay, smear that stuff in. Over here, I notice it's like, yeah, this is where maybe I start to get a little bit of that pattern going. And I would smear those in and then come back and I say, well, I can see a little bit of light right on those teeth, right? And I can pinch this thing really, really fine in order to achieve that. And if I erase something out, that's okay. I can go back and draw it back in, okay? So if you have any questions, just email me. That's the quick of this. In the end, you know, you just need to get to a point where you're using your compressed charcoal to go back over those really, really dark areas. You can use hairspray when it's all said and done to make this stuff really stick. Please feel free to email me with any results, and we'll go from there. Thank you.